Welcome everyone. It's been a while since we had the last Teja session, and I'm really excited to have you all for the wrap-up session for this year. And what a year it has been! But at Teja, I think we feel we are very fortunate because the challenges are exactly what uh, got gave us the inspiration to start this platform. And we feel we're so lucky to have collaborated with some amazing minds, met some amazing people, got some really good feedback from people who practice the meditation, and hopefully we've added to people's life in their spiritual and personal development journey. So thank you everyone. And I know this is very close to the holiday season now, and many people are committed to their own social gatherings and uh, catching up end of year activities. So this is going to be recorded, and I know a lot of people have requested that they will definitely be listening to the recording. So um, we'll upload it on our channel very soon. So let's start the session. So Jayanti is here as well. Hi Jayanti, do you want to add something, this being the last session for the year?
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to see you. And I can't believe it's already December and we started this venture in May. And I'm happy we've come so far and we've got the support of so many people. So I just want to express my gratitude to all of you. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jayanti. Let's get started. We have a very interesting topic today, and a number of people actually specially requested that we talk about this. And I'm going to have some sharing down the line, first-hand experience of meditation for young minds, and they will share about their first-hand experience with meditation, what they've learned, and how it's benefited them. So is meditation only for mature adults? Certainly not. And I know that our guest speaker and our subject matter expert today will definitely provide testimony to the fact that mindfulness and meditation can have a very, very positive impact on young minds. And can children and teenagers really learn how to meditate? Meditation is so vast, and there's so many different techniques you can utilize. And people often question, children, are they even able to sit still for 5 minutes? Well, they probably can if you engage them in the right way. And I know that our expert speaker will tell us more about it. I can only tell from a parent's perspective because I have two kids, and how I've encouraged them to do different meditation techniques and use them in their day-to-day life. From that perspective, I can definitely tell you that meditation has a very, very lasting impact on a young mind, and it can really help with so many things, from getting better results, dealing with expectations, having better self-esteem, and just generally being calm. So definitely meditation is for everyone, no matter what age you are. So we will talk through that in a while. So without waiting any further, I will introduce you to our guest speaker, Madhura Patwardhan. Thank you so much, Madhura, for taking out time and joining us. Madhura she's a trained psychologist, and I know that she has extensive experience working with children. And she's certified in art-based therapy as well, which I'm myself very curious to learn. And I wonder if as an adult, I can also practice in a little tiny activity that we have for you today. So she's been working in the field for 7 years. She's with Trijog. She's a senior manager for the learning and education wing. She's been working with school children and with children with special needs as well. And I think she's very passionate about events for mental health awareness. And her aim, I'm really impressed with this, is to facilitate young people to reach their maximum potential. And something like that, if we want to share on this platform, and I'm sure there'll be some really good takeaway. So welcome, Madhura.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here, and thank you for letting me be a part of such wonderful initiative. I really appreciate.
Thanks, Madhura. So as we do with the usual Teja sessions, it's going to be just a very conversational style. We have some points in mind that I think most people also raise concerns about, and we will be asking those in the form of questions, and Madhura will be giving us some answers. And please feel free to type in the chat box if you think of any questions related to the topic that we're discussing, and we'll bring them up at the same time. So I'll ask the first question. Uh, the first question is about, we all know how fast paced the environment is. Every generation, I think, is expected to expand, learn more, learn faster, perform across different things, which can be a lot of work for kids. And I think especially from what I've read and what I like to keep up on in terms of personal development, I've read about parenting and kids, that a lot of times parents want to, their unfulfilled expectations, they want their kids to fulfill, which is, I know as a parent I've been guilty of that, but it can be very exhausting for the child to keep up with those demands. So can you tell us something, Madhura, about, in your experience, how can kids these days keep up with fast-paced environments, and especially dealing with expectation of parents and school?
Okay, so I'll try to answer this question in parts. And firstly, talking about the fast-paced life, uh, I would like it if we could explore answer to this question together. Okay, because there is a very different perspective that I would like to share here with you all, and it could be very subjective. So I would definitely like to have your inputs, like all of us, can share and like brainstorm together about it, right? So let's begin with imagining our life as a road, or as a path. Okay, and there are two options in which we can travel this path. All right, so the first one is you can run a race, you can prepare really well, you can try to be really fast ahead of everyone and try to reach before everybody else at a place where ultimately everybody is going to reach sooner or later, right? And the second option is you walk on the trail, you enjoy the things around you, appreciate them, take a halt whenever you find a good spot, enjoy the nature around you, uh, enjoy chit chatting with other people who are walking with you, joke, laugh, um, take rest if you feel tired, start walking again when you feel rejuvenated, right? Now, which of the two would you prefer? So you either you all can unmute yourself, or if you would like, you can put your responses in the chat box as well.
I think conventionally people would say, I want to get there fast. I want to be the first one to get there. But I'm sure there's pros and cons to everything, I guess. Does anyone else want to share anything?
I can share something till then,
Yeah.
till other people
Yes,
want to
sir.
say something. So I really like the race analogy that you gave. You know what I often think is that the journey is so important, right? And we often neglect the journey aspect of it. But there's also like we have been so conditioned to work towards getting a sense of achievement. Especially people who grew up in India as a teenager. I remember I used to love, especially because we're going to touch upon the subject of art. I want to share the story about how much I loved art. But going to art class in India in my school, I hated it because the teacher was so aggressive and she was so particular about how a certain thing should be made. And that sort of really, how do you call it? It just sort of lowered my self esteem about my hobby. And it made me feel like I'm not good at it because I nearly failed the subject of art, something that I was so interested in inherently. So I think the emphasis on the sense of achievement is given more than the emphasis on just enjoying the process. Um, so I think while it's really important to enjoy the process, at the same time, getting a sense of achievement from somewhere or the other, not in a conventional sense, is also really important. So I think we all can determine our own path in the race rather than thinking of it as all of us are running the same race, because we're not. We're different people.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that wonderful insight. So basically, why I wanted, to ponder upon this question was basically, we all have been brought up in a particular way, right? And I'm no, I'm not different in that aspect. So we all end up being a part of race ultimately because somewhere I feel that we are unaware that this another choice also exists, right? And I think becoming aware of that choice is very, very important, right? And in the effort to keep up with the fast pace, keep up with that race, we somewhere tend to forget about all the small things that we can enjoy on the way, on the journey, right? And which possibly are much more meaningful than uh, the destination. Now, of course, this is my point of view, but let's say that we decide to, because we have a choice, right? So let's assume that we decide to keep up with the fast pace, right? And so how do we go about it, right? So I'm going to try and answer this covering the second question that you asked, right? So which is about dealing with the expectations, right? If you are in a race, there will be expectation to perform well, to win, right? So what do we do about that? Yeah. So what actually becomes difficult about dealing with expectations is mostly the first thought that comes to our mind, right? What if I fail? What if I cannot do it, right? And uh, let me tell you, this mind of ours, it is in such a hurry all the time that it forgets that it's a question. It takes it as a statement, right? And we end up thinking that I cannot do it. I don't have the capacity to do it, right? So then comes the whole chain of thought that, now that I cannot do it, what will everybody think of me? Am I a dumb person? Am I a failure? Am I unsuccessful? Right? So here we ask the mind to take a chill pill, okay, and we try to calm our mind down. Now here is where the mindfulness plays a very important role, right? So if you have been, practicing mindfulness, practicing meditation regularly, then you would definitely feel the difference in the awareness that you have about your own thoughts, your feelings, and even the actions that you do, right? Now coming back to the questions, right? Now let us think about what are the chances of something happening or not happening. Let's say what are the chances that you can do a particular thing and not being able to achieve that, right? So the chances are always 50-50, right? And the 50% of the times we have control over it. So how do we have control? It's the efforts that we put in, it's the preparation that we do, it is the self talk that we engage in about about our ability to do certain things. It is about being persistent, it is about being consistent, right? So all this 50% we have under our control, and the rest of the 50% is always there, which has to do a lot with the uncertain situations that may arise, right? Just like this pandemic, right? Nobody had control over it, right? So now there are this 50% is always going to be there. So is it always realistic to say that I can do it and I cannot do it? I mean, both of these statements, right? It may not be very realistic. So how can we talk to ourselves about this? Maybe a more appropriate way would be I may or may not be able to do it, right? And it's somewhere when you say this to yourself, it somewhere puts you at ease, right? So although I know that there are expectations, but there is 50-50 chance of that happening and not happening, right? But one thing that I would definitely like to tell young people who are listening is the 50% which is in our control, that we need to make sure, right? And adding to that, now I would particularly like to communicate to the parents that mostly uh, at the age when we are in school, or when we are student, basically student phase of our life, the biggest expectation that uh, is there is about performing in the exam, right? And kind of competing with others, if not very prominently, but certainly it's always there, right? So uh, for parents, I think it's very important to rethink and revisit the purpose of why they are educating their children, right? Is it all about uh, getting higher studies? Is it all about just getting a good job, a good salary? Or is it also about learning to apply the knowledge in real life, right? All the skills that we learn through textbooks, through experiences, we definitely, we like the ultimate goal is basically to transfer it to our real life, and where we can use it and we can live our life to the best that we can, right? So according to me, a child is able to, if a child is able to apply the skills that he or she has been learning and is not writing that in the exam, I think it is still okay, right? As long as they are able to apply it in their own life, right? And when that is why when talking to children about what you expect to do them, it's important to put emphasis on uh, this expectation that whatever you are learning, I would like it if you are actually using it in your life rather than writing in your exam. Yeah. And yes, I hope I have answered the question satisfactorily.
Yeah, I think the main points for me to take away as a parent is to understand that each child is different, and as long as I can uh, see the evidence of application. And I think the other thing is to celebrate the small accomplishments that they have along the way of the journey. That is really
Absolutely.
important. And also to remind the child, because sometimes we are so lost in the rat race, like you said, that you fail to observe the small things, and you also fail to uh, sort of reiterate to the child that, oh, this was a small win, that was great, but you can do better. So I guess there's two sides of the coin. You have to appreciate, at the same time you have to encourage to go ahead. Too much of either thing is probably not going to be good for the child. And I think you have to become a conscious parent, I would say, which is daily learning on a daily basis.
Yeah, and as a parent, I would just like to add one more thing here, that appreciating the effort is also very important than just appreciating the outcome,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So, if you look at it from this perspective, that a child who excels and the child who fails, they both put in effort, right, from their side.
Mm.
So it is not very fair if we just appreciate the child who excels and not appreciate the effort the child has put in, who has not been able, to achieve the goal, right? I'm sure no child would want to fail,
Yeah.
right? Everybody will put efforts with the goal of succeeding. But like I said, there is always 50-50% uh, probability,
Yeah.
right? So it is also important to appreciate the effort that they are putting in.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you for that. I'll move on to the next question.
Yes.
So the next question is, again, it's kind of a continuation of what we spoke about in terms of 50-50 effort and what the outcome is. So if they are disappointed with the outcome, then how can we teach them to learn from the failure and actually tell them that, that's fine. If they've been, especially I think for someone who puts in effort but they're not able to see the success to their expectation, there's a chance that they might feel like giving up because they feel like no matter what effort they put in, they're not able to succeed to whatever they expect or whatever the parents expect. So how can we teach them to learn from their failure and keep persisting?
Right. So it's very obvious that for anybody to feel very disappointed, feel sad if one is not able to achieve that one has been trying to, right? Now, as we have seen that this difficulty arises due to fear of failure, right? And as human beings, we have this tendency to put conditions to ourselves, right? That in order to be called intelligent, in order to be called successful, I must always excel, or I should never fail, right? And so I'm not saying that these conditions we intentionally put on to ourselves, but this is how, this is the belief that we have grown up with somewhere, right? And this is something that we have to think as a society, right? So basically I would really like to explain this further uh, through a small exercise, if you all are okay with it. So I would like you all to draw a flower on the papers you have, yeah, and draw the petals big enough that you can write a word or two in it. So as you're done drawing, you can just show a thumbs up so then I can tell you about the next part.
Can you please tell what do we have to draw exactly?
A flower, so you can draw a big circle in the center and around it draw big petals so we can write something in it. I'm just going to ask you
Okay.
to write in
Okay.
it. Yeah. Um, I assume that most of you have done it. Okay. So now I would like you to write your name in the center, the circle that you draw in the center, and in the petals, I want you to fill them with the words or adjectives about the positive qualities that you have, something which you feel proud of. So you can fill the petals with such words. We will take a minute or two to do so. Okay, shall we go ahead? All right. Now, think of any situation where you felt disappointed, where you felt demotivated, and try to remember what was your self-talk. What is it that you told yourself about yourself, right? So, to help you think about this, you can just complete this sentence that when that disappointed situation happened, I was like a, or I felt, or I am, so and so. You can fill in the gaps according to your experiences. you want to note it, you can, or even if you make a mental note of it, that's okay. All right. So now, whatever you think about yourself when you come across a disappointing situation or when you come across failures, does it mean that whatever positive qualities that you have written down just now, do they not count? Is it the only thing that you become all about, or you are more than that? Right? It's a self-reflection question. You can just think about it to yourself. So usually what happens is, whenever we are in such a situation, we tend to focus a lot on that, what we are feeling at that moment, right? So if my self-talk is, I'm so dumb, right? If that is something that I'm talking to myself, does it mean that all the other positive aspects that I have, they won't count? No, right? So as a whole, you are a person with some good qualities, or there will be some factors which you might be falling short of, right? So nobody is all good or all bad, right? And the negative qualities that you have won't make you a bad person, right? And why it become difficult for us to deal with the failures is because we tend to think in terms of black and white, right? Something which is called as dichotomous thinking. Yeah. So we have to learn to basically remind ourselves that I'm not only this, but I'm also this and this, right? So I think thinking about it in this way might help to deal with the failures better, right? And now learning from the failures. I'm not sure if you have heard of this story about Edison when he invented the light bulb, right? So he took a lot of trials to actually come to the result. So once a reporter asked him that how did it feel to fail 10,000 times, right? And his response was, I didn't fail. I just invented 10,000 ways that didn't work. Yeah. So I think that's a very good approach to look at the failures. So what you can do at such times is tell yourself that I'm proud of myself for trying, right? And feeling sad and feeling disappointed is okay. Now, these feelings are very much a part of us, right? And it is somewhere important to accept these feelings as well. What happens is when we feel sad, we have been told, right from the childhood, that don't be sad, always be happy, right? But how realistically possible is that? Are you never going to feel sad at all? No, right? So let's accept that these feelings are also going to be there as a part of us, which will eventually fade away, right? But if you are feeling terrible about it, or if you are just unable to get that thought out of your head, then you need to remind yourself that, does it make me a bad person? Like I said earlier, is it uh, that I'm all about this failure, or am I more than this, right? And I'm sure you will get your answers.
Thank you, Madhura. I really like that the flower activity, because when you write your own qualities, and conventionally the our sort of conditioning is such that we're always told to think of, oh, you have to do better, you have to improve, and you don't be too full of yourself, you shouldn't be talking about yourself, things like that. And I think that is the reason why we, when even if we get compliments, we think maybe I shouldn't be saying thank you, or responding with confidence, because I've been told that you have to be better than this, and you can't be full of yourself and talk about yourself, because that's seen as showing off maybe. But when we take a pause and reflect on ourselves, we think about ourselves in a different way. It actually instantly boosts your self-esteem in a really good way, uh, not in an overconfident way, I would say. And it does give you a very sort of much needed reminder that you're not about the last failure, but you're more than that as a person. So thank you for sharing that. Would you like to say something, Jayanti?
No, I thought that exercise was so valuable with the petals around it, especially because, it wasn't just making a list of things that you're proud of yourself or whatever. It was also involving a little bit of giving you the time to draw something, just a simple flower, and that gives you a little bit of moment to like pause or just get into the zone. So I really enjoyed it. Thank you. I might just do it again for myself at any point of time when I feel the need to uplift my self-esteem.
So glad that you found it valuable.
Great. So shall we move to the next question then? Okay. So speaking about overcoming limitations or dealing with failures, etc. So I guess this is like doing work on a daily basis, almost reminding yourself. Uh, but then there are techniques, I believe, that can be used for uh, learning with failures is one aspect, but then actually growing and actually looking at improving your performance, or uh, visualizing things before visualizing your success before you actually make it there. So can you tell us a bit about what are these techniques, or what kind of mindfulness techniques can children use to uh, look at the optimistic side of how to achieve?
Yes, definitely. So along with that, I would also like to share certain very interesting techniques which can be even applied when you are studying your academic bit, right? So I'll just begin with talking about imagination little bit. So basically, imagination is the ability where we can see something which is not present in that moment in reality, right? So it allows you to kind of see what will work and what will not work, uh, allows you to think of the obstacles that might come in and foresee the ways in which you can resolve that issue, right? Now, when imagining about success, or when we are preparing for something, right, it is definitely it is important rather to uh, think uh, think in affirmation, right? Because that will give you the strength, that will give you the inner strength to work and try that out. Yeah. uh, Differing little on that, I would also say it is also very important to be aware of the rest 50% that we have, right? Usually, what this is now very personal example. I would say that whenever I would very positively imagine that I'm reaching my goal or reaching somewhere, I somewhere discount that uncertainty, right? And when that sets in, it it kind of brings in a lot of disappointment, right? But if when we are being mindful of that other part as well, then the not being able to achieve something or the failure when I have put in my 50% in becomes slightly easier to handle. Right?
I think Madhura's connection might be poor. We'll give it a minute for her to come back. She's back.
Okay. Yes. All right. I was just talking about uncertainty, and there was a power failure at my place. So I got disconnected. So basically, this is what it is all about, right? So we do imagine all positive things, but it is very, very important to, at the back of our mind, to keep this thing in our awareness that there is a possibility of things not working out in my favor, and I will be ready for that. And when you become aware of that, you are kind of ready for that, right? So talking about imagination and specifically the visualization exercises, usually, like, whatever I have heard about it is always, think in terms of uh, positivity, affirmation. While that all is true, I do differ uh, about, on this particular part, because I can resonate with that. So of course, if you all have any different inputs or anything, I would also really love to uh, hear that. And the other visualization techniques that I thought I will share with you, which also helps to learn the academics, is something like where we use all different sensory information as well. So it's not only visualization, right? If you are reading something, uh, you can also start thinking about how would it look like if it is already happening in front of me, right? What are the different characters, how they would look like, how are they dressed as, or bringing in the auditory aspect of it. If they talk, how would they sound like? What is it that they would say? If there are aspects of taste and smell, if you can include, if you can think about that, bring in that as well. Going further, think about yourself as a part of that story, right? And think about how would it feel like. So bringing in together all these sensory aspects, if you are learning the content, especially for students I'm talking about, when they have to study something, a theory subject, some story which they have to remember, right? So learning about it using this kind of visualization technique really helps. And I have also shared a video based on how drawing helps to remember, right? So that is also a very interesting video. If you all would like to watch, I really loved it, and I'm using it a lot with the students whom I work with, and they are also finding it really useful. So it is something that I thought of. And another, like, it's a very small thing but very useful, and since the audience has parents and students, I would really like to share is it is one of the spelling techniques that I use using visualization, aspects of visualization. Okay, so basically, if you have to learn a long spelling, for example, visualization is the word, right, that you're learning. So what you can do is take a blank sheet of paper, uh, fold it twice so that you will get four parts, right? And break this word down into four parts in the easiest way that you can, right? So for me, it would be visualization, okay? And then write down each part on each segment, each grid that you have on the paper in a different color, right? And when you are trying to remember that spelling, you can remember it part by part. And because it has a different color, it helps you to remember each part separately. And when you blend it, you get that, even if the spelling is long, you get that spelling. So I know it is not very related to the topics that we have been talking about till now, but since I find this really interesting, I thought of sharing that strategy.
Absolutely. I think it's great because, the memorizing things is becoming more like, uh, sometimes when you have more rote learning, it is very difficult. I would say that because I'm living in a different country where I'm seeing, I have learned, my schooling was completely different to how my kids are doing their schooling at the moment. They really have more application based and very limited rote learning. But because they are not memorizing, I find that if they have been asked to memorize something, they really struggle. So this technique is great because they will, as soon as you make a story out of it or you try to remember it in a funny way, you associate it with a funny incident or something, you will remember it because your brain feels like there's no pressure on, trying to, the more you think that there's pressure on reproducing the exact thing that you're studying, the harder it gets. But when you associate it with something lighter, you just remember it so much better. So I think that's a great technique. And I also agree with you, Madhura, about, there's a lot of, when you look at personal development in terms of goals and achieving and visualization, the emphasis is always on, you see yourself, you mentally rehearse it and you do that. But for someone who is just starting off on this journey of using this technique, I think the default mode, because your brain is always helping you to, it's got the primitive response is to protect, to stop being hurt or stop from failing. And that's why you even fear to attempt most of the time, because your brain says, oh no, there's too much danger in this, so don't do it. So I think for someone who is therefore starting off on this visualization technique, as Jayanti mentioned, if you start with the foundation of good self-esteem, when you become less attached to the outcome, your brain automatically thinks, okay, if I don't get this, it's not the whole and soul thing that I'm after. Okay, then that's fine. Attempt it, because failing is not going to cause any penalty for you. And therefore the chance of winning actually increases because you're detached from the outcome. So I agree that, you have to practice being detached, or what could be the worst thing that happens, or what is my plan B. Sometimes just having a plan B makes you think, okay, I have a plan B, so therefore I should attempt it, because if I fail, I do have a backup.
Yeah, so true, so true. And since you mentioned about the self-esteem, I would also like to say that many times people ask about how to build confidence, right? Now, more than building confidence, I feel it's more important to build the self-esteem, because obviously, if I don't have the adequate skills, I'm not going to feel confident in particular situations, right? And I feel that is okay. That will keep fluctuating. Whatever things I'm good at, I will be confident. Whatever things I'm not good at, I will feel, inadequate, right? But if my self-esteem is in place, I would not evaluate myself negatively even when I do not perform adequately. So it's really important to focus on the self-esteem than self-confidence, and it's okay if that fluctuates.
I think that's a fantastic takeaway, honestly, because especially with, when you're talking to kids, I think this is the foundation really. And I'm not I don't have any background in psychology, but I really am interested in the subject, and therefore I like to read and I like to hear from experienced people and people who know a lot about this subject. And they tell that, between the age of 0 to 7 is when your foundation of everything about yourself is formed, and it is so firm that it actually takes a lot of effort to go back and, erase aspects or rewrite aspects, reprogram yourself, because the conditioning, the foundation is at that age. And I think the self-esteem, if it is not healthy during that time, it manifests into so many different issues in your life that you're not even aware of. But I think the best thing is to then become aware of it and to understand that it is possible to reprogram yourself.
Totally.
So thank you so much for sharing those things. And now, because we're on the subject of sharing, I've got two special guests who are going to share some things with us. So we're going to get some first-hand experiences of applying mindfulness, in schoolwork or in life as a child, from a child's perspective. So I would like to welcome Ananya and Avishka, and they're my daughters. Hi, girls. Hi. And I am going to ask them to share what is their experience in terms of mindfulness and meditation. So Avishka, would you like to go first and tell us what you have learned in mindfulness?
Well, in school, I do this program with my class and other classes called Smiling Minds, and we meditate, and we do a few lessons as well. And we also listen to one of Jay Shetty's videos.
That's great. So how often do you do this in a week?
We do it once a day.
So you do it every single day.
Yeah.
That's great. And how long is the Smiling Mind class for?
About 30 minutes or less.
That's great. So can you give us an example, like you mentioned Jay Shetty's video. What was this video about? Can you quickly tell us what it is?
It was about him not believing in things he talked about in the video.
Was it kind of about learning from failure?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you learn something from that video? Did you learn that it's okay to fail or not being afraid to fail?
Yeah.
Yes. And do you think that you will remember this Smiling Mind as something that is very positive and you had a good feeling, you learned something?
Yeah.
Did it especially help you during challenging COVID times?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you also did some cosmic kids kind of meditation when you were doing homeschooling, right? Was that helpful?
Yeah.
Would you like to learn more meditation as you grow?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Thank you for sharing. Ananya, would you like to tell us something about your experience with meditation?
Yeah, so whenever I've done meditation, it's for like stress and anxiety management, especially before a test or exam. And I've always found that it's a useful tool for me to, calm down and get my mind to be at its full potential.
That's great. So is there any special technique that you use?
Mainly creative visualization.
That's awesome. Do you have any example of what was looking back at it, what was like a success story or a highlight that you remember?
I think a good example is when I had a science test, and with the subject science, I always had this belief that I was just not good at it, and even if I studied, I wouldn't be able to pass the test, or just it would be useless. But I had this big science test a few weeks ago, and I made sure to meditate the night before, for a week before the test. And I obviously studied for it a lot. And I actually got good marks. And in the test, I was able to remain calm and actually answer every question. And more importantly, while I was leaving the test, I felt confident about it. And yeah, I did well on that test. And I think it's because of the meditation.
That's awesome. That's really good. So do you think you will utilize meditation especially in the higher years of school when you have a lot of pressure and lots to study? Do you think it's a very useful tool?
Yeah.
And would you recommend your friends to utilize some of that?
Yeah, definitely.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. So now we will move on to an activity, and I would encourage you girls to do it as well with Madhura. If anyone wants to share anything else, please do so in the chat box, or maybe at the end of the session, or feel free to share whenever you like. But I'm just mindful of time, so I'm moving on to the next activity, which we are all excited about. It's called Mindfulness with Colors. Over to you, Madhura.
Yes, thank you. All right, so I hope you all have the material with you, which is a blank paper and few crayons. Yeah. So now in this activity, we are going to go for a walk, which is going to be led by a crayon. Okay, so I would like all of you to pick any crayon of your choice. Yeah, and as you hear some music, I would like you to close your eyes if you wish to. It is more effective if your eyes are closed. I would request all of you to do it with your closed eyes and start moving your crayon, rather let the crayon move on the paper and let your fingers follow the crayon as it moves. And don't worry about going out of the paper, your crayon will always guide you back. So just trust the crayon that you're going for a walk with. And if you could allow me to share, I would like to have some background music as well.
Can you play it at your end, or you want me to?
Uh, yeah, I can play. It's just that I'll need the screen sharing so that the audio gets shared properly. Otherwise, I wonder if the audio can be, listened to.
Okay. How do I allow you to share? I'm just looking.
So it's on the screen share tab itself, you'll find an option to allow multiple participants to share. That might help.
Screen sharing.
I think there is a small arrow on the top right corner there.
Just a second.
Sure. If that's not happening, it's okay. I can try playing it here and see if you can listen to it. That's okay.
Yeah, I think I couldn't find the option, but that's fine. Do you want to just play the sound and see if it works?
Yeah, and then you will begin with the activity. That's okay.
Okay.
Is it audible? You are enjoying your walk with the crayon.
Drawn some kind of modern art, if you would like to call it that. Does anyone want to show their art?
All right. So whenever you feel like you can stop.
Yep.
I'm not sure. Was the music audible?
I think you dropped out for just a brief moment as well.
Yeah, I did.
That's
yeah, then the network. Okay. All right. So, how was your experience? What did you notice any thoughts in your head? If anyone would like to share anything about the experience.
I can go if other people are still doing something. So this is what my artwork looks like. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just.
Yeah, that seems cool.
And I think it's really good because I feel like so right now maybe my mind is a bit restless, so my artwork is looking a bit scribbly and like all over the place. But I feel like that's a great way to find it reflects on what the status of your mind is.
So let's say you could find some meaning even that drawing was not really very concrete.
I just thought that it was a really good reflection of I think if I was in a calmer state, the lines would have been straighter or something. If I'm in an overthinking state or if I'm in a bit of a restless state, my mind is going like drawing lines all over. So I think it's a good way to check in.
Anyone else want to share?
And just if you can, like I would like to just go ahead and ask one more question to Jayanti, if that's okay.
Sure.
All right. Yeah. So what if the lines are not according to how you want it?
That's a great question, actually. Well, then they're just lines. I made them with my eyes closed, so I guess I should not have any expectations out of them. But it's an interesting thought that even in blind art, we have certain types of expectation.
Yep. Anyone else want to share?
May I, if possible?
Sure.
Sure.
So in the previous slide, you mentioned that, you need to have a backup option or something like that.
Yeah.
So initially, how we start drawing, it doesn't turn out to be in the same way in which we thought. So the way this is like the outcome is generated. So we can call it like an option B or like a second option, because it's not the way we have planned, and it never turns out to be exactly the same way what we intended it to be. So I just thought that, this could be another option that.
This is your plan B. I like the metaphorical comparison. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else would like to share?
I'd be curious to see what Ananya or Avishka have made, if they want to share something. I don't know if they're...
Yeah. We'll ask Naina what she has drawn.
I was using a small paper, so I thought that I was mindful that it should not go out of this paper. So I was traveling from out to in. And even though Madhura said that let it go out, but I was so mindful that it should not go out. But I am happy with the result that it remained in the paper. I don't know what Madhura's analysis on this.
think it
So
looks pretty
basically,
good.
there is no analysis for this. It, just because it is just that you all will have your own meanings for it, right? And I won't be able to really interpret or attach the meaning to it because you had your own experiences with it,
Right.
right? So to arrive at one conclusion, or to you know, kind of say anything about whatever your creation is, it won't be very valid if I try to interpret it.
As long as I am happy with it.
Absolutely.
And as Jayanti said that, even in the blind drawing, we have expectations.
Mhm.
So, Madhura, can we ask you,
Yeah.
like, what is the purpose of doing this activity and how does it actually impact our mindset?
Yes. So basically, I would talk about like two layers of it. So one is basically you get something to engage with while you can still be with yourself, right? Like I told you to close your eyes and try to do it so you are being with yourself, but still not engaged in some activity so that you don't get distracted with other things that are happening around. So that is one part of it. Another layer to it is just like came up in the discussion, that how we always try to find control over things, right? And if we have to let go of that control, it becomes so difficult for us, right? So that was the reflection that I had when I had engaged in this activity. Of course, everybody will have our own reflections based on the experience that we had with it. So that was the whole purpose. And also another kind of variation I can say. I know we are short of time, but I can just say that, and you can try it out at home whenever you have time. So where you can blend it with a breathing exercise, right? So what you have to do is place all the different colorful crayons in front of you, and settle down as you feel ready. Uh, as you take a deep breath in, pick a crayon. I mean, do that action of picking up the crayon as you breathe in. And while you are exhaling, just let the crayon move on the paper as you breathe out, right? And with that, you can go in any direction that you want to. You can experiment with drawing shapes while exhaling, try to draw different patterns, different kind of lines. And that is also very, very soothing exercise. At the same time, you're also, blending it with breathing, so that really feels nice to, focus on that as well.
Great. Just by listening to that, I'm already feeling very relaxed. Thank you so much. So I think we are ready to move on to the next thing, which is asking Madhura question. So I invite everyone to type in the chat box if you have a specific question for Madhura in terms of what we discussed so far, or if you would like to know anything specifically about art therapy as well.
I can go if until other people have some questions. About art therapy, I'm really interested in this concept. I think it's really beautiful. And I want to ask you a question because a lot of people have a belief. I personally really enjoy art of all forms, but a lot of people have a belief about them not being good at art. Um, not being creative. They have this block in their mind. And I think art is such a useful tool in recognizing our emotions. So, what would you say to those people to like just encourage them to use art to get in touch with themselves?
Sure. So, when talking about art, the way we are, like you mentioned in the beginning, the way we are taught about art, uh, it is the basic, what can I say, the reason behind why people feel that I'm not good at art. right? First of all, art is not something that you can actually teach. It's a it's an expression, right? And you can't teach somebody to put it in a framework, right? So if you remember during school time, if we were asked to draw a scenery, everybody's pictures will look the same, right? With the same kind of mountains, with a small heart, maybe a river, a sun, birds in the sky, right? So somewhere we were not allowed to express the way we wanted to, right? And that is why we have certain parameters to compare our art against it. And when that doesn't fit, we feel that I'm not good at it, right? But uh, it is not really like that. It is just the reflection of what you are feeling inside, very correctly, said by you. So basically, treat it just as a way to express yourself. That's all. So just the exercise that we did just now, there was nothing that I asked you to draw, like in any concrete thing, right? But still, you could feel something while you were doing it. You might have felt a sense of release, or you might have felt happy when after, because maybe you used colors after a long time. You engaged in this kind of activity after a long time, right? So it is all about expression, and it is not only limited to drawing or painting. It is also body movement. It is also about using voice work. It is storytelling, imagery, right? So usually when we say art, we limit ourselves to think about visual art, right? There is rhythm. So you can think of all these possible options to express yourself.
That's fantastic. And I think even if people think that they may not be, or it's their belief that they're not good at visual art, I'm sure that there is some sort of inherent built expression in everyone. So uh, if you don't perceive yourself as very artistic, but I'm sure there is something in you, recognition of rhythm or movement or dance or music or playing a musical instrument. I guess you will find when you start trying different things, you will find that the one that resonates most with you, and that actually makes you feel very relaxed, gives you joy as well.
And
So
art is therapeutic, like inherently therapeutic. So whichever way you use it is definitely going to have some effect on you.
I agree, definitely. um, so moving on now, um, we are ready to do the meditation. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So here I'm just going to talk about a very simple way of engaging in meditation, because um, very often, like when we are not very familiar with the meditative practices, or if somebody who is just beginning to learn about meditation, it can be very challenging to sit at a place for a very long time and just stay focused on things. So this is something that when I learned meditation, I learned it in this way, and it really helped me to go step by step, right? So beginning with just allowing ourselves to sit without doing anything, right? You can keep your eyes open. You can let the thoughts come and go in your mind, but just sit idle. Imagine yourself as a statue, and just practice sitting like that for a while. So I would there are 3 steps that we are going to do, which is ideally each step should be practiced for like days till you feel prepared to go to the next step. But I'm just quickly going to do that for 1 or 2 minutes, so that you have an idea how those steps go, and you can practice it um, as you start doing it every day, right? So let us just try just sitting for a minute. All right. So, uh, I would like to hear from you. How was it like just to sit without doing anything?
That minute feels like longer than any other minute.
Right. So basically, this is what happens when we begin doing the meditation because we are not used to it. Uh, we start feeling restless, and we are always, uh, like our mind and brain is always trained to engage in something, right? So to unlearn that, first step is to practice just sitting, and you can begin with the minimum time that you want to, and gradually increase that time, right? And you can practice it multiple times in a day, right? And as you feel ready and as you feel that you can sit for longer times, then the next step that we can engage in is to fix our eyes on some object, right? So right now, whichever object is there in front of you, keep observing that object. Notice the shape, the different colors on it, maybe the texture that it has, its size, right? So uh, keep looking at that object, and as you find your mind wandering, get it back to observe uh, that object again, and keep doing it. It is very obvious that your mind will start thinking about other things, but let us practice getting it back. And let us try doing it again for a minute. So this step was all about learning to bring the mind back to where we want it to be, right? Basically focusing. Now the third step, we will try to focus on our breathing. So we are basically, as you notice, we are going from outside to inwards, right? So now in the third step, we are going to close our eyes and start noticing the air traveling from our nostrils down the throat to our lungs, and then air uh, being exhaled again through the nostrils out of our body. So, as you breathe in and breathe out, that becomes one breathing cycle. So, let's try and do 10 such cycles with our eyes closed. Whenever it's that you're done, you feel complete, you feel like opening your eyes, you can come back. I'm glad that you found it soothing and found it effective. Yes, very true that we tend to find excuses not to engage in these practices, but this could be an easy way out to do it. But yes, with
Absolutely.
your capacity, you can also, keep increasing the duration that you engage uh, in it.
And I think it's very easy to ask kids to do it, because first of all, they sitting still for a minute is a lot to ask. But if they practice, then it becomes a habit, and they actually realize being still is, it's so good for their enhancing their creativity and really relaxing their body as well. That's great. Thank you so much. I'm going to move on now. I hope everyone enjoyed that experience. The music has come on a bit late, but anyway. Okay, so that actually brings us to the end of the content of this session. I'm quickly going to run through the summary of what we discussed today. So, as Madhura said, dealing with high expectations, the couple of things that I took away from it is doing your 50% as best as you can, because there's always a 50-50 chance. And the other 50%, which is not in your control, it's good to realize that it's better to let go of it and do the best in your 50%. And also to, when you use imagination for problem solving and you use visualization to practice your success before you achieve the success, it's important to know that with that uncertain 50%, anything can happen. And therefore, you let go and you detach from that outcome, which makes it actually easier for you to go with the flow. And you attempt with a much better mindset, because you're not, it's not this compulsive feeling of achieving success. um, can you all see the slide, actually, the summary slide? Okay, I'm going to stop share. Just allow me to share the screen again. So well pointed out. Can you all see the summary slide now? Okay, cool. So as I mentioned, we talked through those points, and then learning from failure, uh, the concept of the light bulb, 10,000 ways of how you could do things. But then I think the biggest learning from that is persisting. So the only time you fail is when you stop doing it. So just keep at it and appreciate, maybe make a journaling or documenting something where even if you fail, if, like you said, the effort counts. So appreciating yourself for the effort that you put in, and recognizing that when kids put that effort in, because nobody is setting out to do tasks with outcome of failing, right? Everyone wants to achieve in the end. So appreciating the effort is very important. And then the using these techniques, the simple meditation techniques, which actually help you to relax and put your mind in a calmer state, which actually helps in achieving the success in the end. So if anyone wants to share anything or ask questions, please feel free to type in the chat box while I go through the media links as well. So as I mentioned earlier, Madhura is from Trijog. So I've got some Instagram accounts that you can check out. Trijog being one of them. They really have a very very interactive and very interesting social media where I really like their Insta stories. They're very engaging. And then I've got a few others. So like Madhura mentioned, there's techniques about remembering things, retaining information. Jim Quick, he is a master of how your brain can actually retain things. So do visit. He's got you can do paid programs, but he's got a number of free tools to offer as well. Some of the simple things that I learned, there's one thing he talks about, top 10 things to do early in the morning, first thing in the morning. And one of them is brushing your teeth with the non-dominant hand as well, which I used to do. And it really opens up something different in your brain if you've experienced, if you've done it before. And then Jay Shetty.
If you could, so I think I forgot to mention this point when I was talking about meditation. So it is not only when you sit at one place and try to focus your mind, but you can also engage in mindfulness practice even while doing, your daily activities. Just like when you mentioned brushing teeth, that is something that came to my mind. Is I was learning, we were told to start with that, right? Don't take out time and sit at one place, but while you're brushing your teeth, pay attention to the how the bristles feel, or the texture of the paste in your mouth, and all those sensory aspects of it. So when you pay attention to that, that is also in a way you're practicing mindfulness.
Absolutely.
So you might have heard of mindful eating and
yes.
Those things. Yeah.
And there's proven studies that if you have mindful eating, you actually will not gain unnecessary weight as well, which is very interesting. And as my daughter mentioned about Jay Shetty, he's really, really amazing. And I think he appeals a lot to younger people because he's talking about all the very, very contemporary kind of issues, or even small things that you deal with in day-to-day life. He's very creative videos, and he's a very sort of charismatic kind of person that I also like to listen to. And then Dr. Shefali, so this is for parents. I think she's one of the most impressive people that I've listening to her YouTube videos and whatever work she does with Mind Valley. She is phenomenal in terms of what conscious parenting is, and really opened my eyes to different aspects of just becoming aware of my style as a parent. So I highly recommend parents to look at her social media. And then the Silva method, which Jayanti and I did, and we can't stop raving about it, honestly. It has made such a big impact in our lives. And this is also available for kids. So in fact, our mentor, our teacher who taught us the Silva method, she says that kids are one of the best students because they are already so imaginative. Their imagination doesn't have any limits. As we grow up, we become so conditioned, and we kind of our imagination also becomes a victim of practical thinking, I guess. But with kids, their imagination has no boundaries, and that is exactly what is such a powerful thing in the Silva method. And then the Cosmic Kids Yoga is one really cute kind of interactive yoga YouTube channel. So I think a lot of people would be aware of this. But because they teach yoga or mindfulness through things that kids like, for example, Frozen 2 or something like that kids are drawn to, that's the reason why they're so engaging and really have that impact. And then there are other things that you can check out. And then there's How to Draw to Remember More by Graham Shaw, which Madhura was talking earlier about. You should listen to this. And I think even as an adult, we always dismiss thinking, oh, I'm so bad at remembering names, or I'm so bad at remembering this and that. But I think it's all about being conscious about things, and using different mediums can actually help your brain, trigger your brain to remember more things. Is there anything else anyone wants to add?
I've got something to add. It's going to be a spoiler for the kids because I'm going to reveal their Christmas presents. But I'm going to do it now because I think it's a really nice thing for everyone to know. So I got some Christmas presents for my nieces, Ananya, Avishka, and also Eva. So they are books from the School of Life channel. And I really want to recommend this particular book, which I have also started reading because I thought it was so interesting. It's called What Adults Don't Know About Art. It's from the School of Life. And it's such a wonderful book about what art really means. And it's the author, Alain de Botton, who is the author of School of Life. He makes amazing videos, and the language is so engaging and comical and really something catchy. So I've got 3 books for the kids to read. This one is What Adults Don't Know About Art. I thought it was really cool. There's also Big Ideas for Curious Minds. And I think School of Life has a lot of little things for kids. So I'm really looking forward to, I'll have to be sending the Christmas gifts away now because I'm not coming to Sydney because of the restrictions coming back thanks to COVID. But at least I'm glad that I'll be able to share something with the kids. So I really encourage anybody who has kids to have a look at the School of Life channel because they have really interesting exercises for parents and kids to do together. So that's my recommendation.
Awesome. Thank you, Jayanti. So that brings us to the end. And if you want to get in touch with Madhura, who has been so insightful, and she has incredible experience, many years of experience. And I've been so lucky to meet you, Madhura, through this collaboration that we've had. And I've heard that she has been instrumental in talking to kids with so many different challenges, or, and I believe that, getting to counseling children and hearing their story or understanding their perspective requires some kind of special skills, or requires a kind of personality that you definitely have, Madhura. So that's wonderful. So you can reach out to her via Trijog. So check out their website, and because they do online counseling, so if ever you are looking at counseling, especially I think for people in India, obviously they can reach out to you. Even for people living in Australia, sometimes I find that if you're looking for someone who understands the cultural sort of foundation or the upbringing of kids, and it's always a challenge, I think, when you want to retain your culture at the same time you're raising kids in a different country. It can add to a challenge as well. But if that's a concern, or if that's one of the things you're looking out for, then definitely approach Trijog, because they're doing counseling online, and because they are based in India, they understand the culture and they understand the kind of conditioning that the kids might have gone through. So definitely I would recommend reach out to them. And that brings us to the end of our session for today. It's gone well over time, but I think it was totally worthwhile, all the things that you shared with us. And this will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, Teja Discover Radiant. So for those who have missed it, I'm sure they will be able to catch up, and they'll be able to benefit from the exercises and the meditation that Madhura has taken us through. And that's a wrap for 2020. I can't believe it's the last session of the year already. I'm very thankful to each and every participant and each and every person who has attended Teja sessions, sent us feedback, sent us notes about what they thought about the meditation and how they benefited from meditation. That I think that brings us great joy to Jayanti and me. And we look forward to bigger and better 2021. And we're looking at how we can make these sessions more exciting for everyone. So look forward to seeing you in 2021. Have a good Christmas. have a fantastic new year, and hope 2021 brings, more opportunities for all of us. So if we can get through challenges of COVID and the year that was, then I think it's only made us tougher. So something to be grateful. Do you want to add anything, Jayanti?
No, I just shared in the chat window that I'm really grateful to everyone who has participated in our webinars, and it's been such a great source for all of us to grow together. I love having this sense of community and positivity to help each other grow and just be a better and more compassionate version of ourselves.
Thank you once again, Madhura, and thank you all the participants who joined us today.
Thank you so much. I feel very grateful to be a part of this webinar, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone. Merry Christmas and have a happy new year.